Good day, folks. Good day to where you are. And this is a very special video because I have invited the cast and the director of my upcoming play, The Midnight Catch Up, which will be performed in the upcoming Talking It Out Festival this March 19th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is a festival that showcases and raises awareness about mental health realities. And my play is about two teenagers trying to cope uh, with the ongoing challenges brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. So I will put the link in the description below for everyone to access the tickets. And I'm very happy to invite and to be able to interview with these talented actors and director. So to start off, I will introduce each one of them. We have Summer Dawn, who is the founder and director of In Full Color, an organization that aims to empower women of color through education and the arts. And then we have Schroth, a singer, songwriter, and an artist based in New Jersey. And he has also an album, so go check it out, guys. I will also put the link in the description as well. And we have Joanne Villavieja, who is also a musician and a talented artist. And for all of you, as an information to all of my audience, we are all of Filipino heritage. So it really goes to show how art can connect people from all walks of life. I am based in the Philippines, and the three of them, Summer, Joanne, and Dylan, are based in the United States. So thank you so much, guys, for coming to my show and for being able to welcome my interview, my invitation.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. So let's start with the first question, everyone. What got you started with arts? Like, what was that particular moment in life when you became passionate about what you do now? Let's start with Summer.
Yeah, sure. I've been creating art since I was a little kid. I was creating stories faster than I could write. So I would say my stories into a cassette tape. I would make little books and things like that. I was always writing, always drawing. And then I fell in love with theater in high school. I won a playwriting contest, and they put the play on for everyone to see. It was about the daughter of two candy makers who was cursed with an allergy to sweets by the Wicked Witch of the Unspecified Direction. It was just magical and colorful and fun. And then I tried acting, and then I tried directing, and I've been hooked ever since.
That's amazing. That's actually an interesting play. Maybe someday it might get adapted into a different medium. Depends on how you like it. But yeah, that's a very interesting play. Thank you for sharing, Summer. How about you, Joanne? What got you started into arts?
I started singing when I was really young. I was copying my two ates who were like singers also. I have three sisters and we're all singers. So they would sing around the house, just like playing around, and me being like really tiny, like 3 years old maybe, I was like always copying them. So after that, like me and my other sister, we would copy them all the time. We would sing, so we would sing with them. And then my parents eventually put us in singing lessons. And then after that, I started playing guitar in elementary school. And then in high school, I met Summer and I actually did a theater program with her. So that's when I started acting too. So from then on, I actually just did like open mics and shows like randomly like throughout Jersey City, like open mics. And then I got in contact with Summer again, and now I do virtual shows for In Full Color.
That's amazing, John. One thing that's common about among many Filipinos is that our love for music. In the Philippines, back home, I always whenever I go home from work, I always pass by people sitting down at benches or outside convenience stores, and they would just pull out their guitars and just sing along. And it's like a realistic musical, but only a jukebox one because they're playing the classics. And speaking of music, we have a singer-songwriter, Dylan Schroth. So tell us about your journey in how you found passion in what you do now.
So I've always been a singer since I was very little. I remember my grandma, who would babysit me a lot, she played the piano and she would teach me scales and how to sing along and try to understand the keys. And my dad was a huge music lover. He collected vinyls, so it was always around me. But it wasn't until I was 13 and I heard the song. I don't know if you guys know the song "Ocean Avenue" by Yellow Card. But I heard that song and instantly, I decided this is what I want to do. I want to make intimate rock songs forever, and I never looked
Nice.
back from there.
That's nice. So yeah, what genre do you follow these days, or do you produce?
I center around, well, personally, I center around emo,
Hmm.
and but I think I just generally resonate with singer-songwriter genres, anything that's very honest and intimate, and yeah.
Amazing. Joanne, you mentioned about playing guitar at an early age when you were in high school. Um, what was the first song that you mastered playing?
Um, it was actually very cliche, but it was my first like mastered song was probably More Than Words.
Oh,
Me
the
too.
So
classic.
stereotypical, so Filipino
That's what you
American.
would say.
Yeah, so I just like I when my mom loved it, so I wanted to play it for her. So I would play it for her. And it was in my vocal range, and it was also just the chords were like my first like complex chords, and I really liked it. So I kept like digging into it until I got it. And then from
Um,
then it was just a bunch of like, first album Taylor Swift and
aw.
yeah, we've graduated a bit from there, tiny bit.
Yeah, it's amazing how Taylor continues to produce amazing music these days. Even back then when she was still, a teenager, she really did grow up with music, and it's amazing how she inspires a lot of artists to pursue their craft as well. Summer, in your experience as like a multifaceted artist, I believe because you've directed plays, you've empowered women through your projects in full colors. What is one significant project or one significant production that has stayed with you until now, that has made an impact in your life?
I don't know. I think there's so many. So with In Full Color, we do an annual show where we have about a dozen artists come share monologues or poems, or even we've featured music and dance as well. And every year is really unique and really different. And some of it has, really made a huge impact on me. But probably one of the most meaningful was the season that my sister got to participate in. So my sister, Alina Ortiosa, she's a half Filipino teenager. She's much younger than I am. And she came all the way to New Jersey from Minneapolis at 15, and she stayed here for a couple weeks to rehearse and really put in the time and performed a poem that she wrote herself, exploring the boundaries and walls between her cultures, the culture clash, being a biracial person, but then also flipping it and looking at the walls we put up in society between ourselves and other cultures. Just seeing her get up there and really blow people away was so inspiring. And I think I was just so proud of her. I think that was probably my favorite production so far.
It's amazing. So I believe that artistry and creativity runs in the blood because your sister is also a poet. So that's amazing. So my next question, guys, is that during the past 2 years, I believe we have all been through tough times, relatively tough times because of the pandemic, and I think that it was a universal issue. It's still an ongoing issue these days. So and also my play, the Midnight Catch Up, also tackles that theme about how we all cope on our ways to acknowledge the reality that's going on around us. A lot of plans have been postponed, a lot of projects have been delayed, a lot of opportunities have been lost. My question, and you can like answer in any way you want, would be how has the pandemic made changes in your life during the past 2 years? Like I know that it's been a tough time, and how are you able to cope with it? Let's start with Dylan.
Yeah, I, th- I'm lucky in that in my personal life and with my family, the pandemic didn't affect us as badly as it could have. Um, Most of the people in my household were able to work from home now, and that's nice. The only person who really struggled at first was my mom, who was a nurse in the ICU taking care of patients, and we had to work hard to be there for her. But for me personally, the biggest struggle was that, and maybe this is too selfish to say, but when I realized how long lockdowns could be and how long the world would be changed, my personal thought was that the world is forever changing, and there's nothing I can do to help people. Like I hadn't made enough progress in my career to be able to make a difference at all. So I actually ended up just looking at what I wanted to do as a musician, and um, I decided to put away my previous career and try to start something new in hopes that when I do come back and start releasing music again, I can actually do something that helps other people and doesn't just um, yeah, it doesn't just gratify my own needs. I always felt like I had enough time, plenty of time to pursue my goals. And when COVID hit, I felt like, oh no, what if it's too late? So I had to like personally get past that and see what I was gonna do with my life now.
Right. I'm sure that you're in the process of getting there, being able to succeed, hopefully in the future, because these days we have realized, like, personally, I'm just speaking based on my personal experience, because my sister is also a nurse, and I can fully relate to what it's like having a family member struggle, uh, you know, in the hospital because of like the cases rising, and um, our frontliners are modern heroes, because they have done so much in the past year that we could never imagine doing ourselves. Myself personally, because I'm not a nurse, I'm not a health worker, so I can just imagine how brave they are, and what they've been through to uh, do their job and to fulfill their mission. And for us, for me, I think that I can totally relate with what you said, that we acknowledge the fact that we are limited. Our choices have become limited because of the lockdowns, the restrictions, and it's an ideal time to reflect. And I fully relate with what you've been through. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Dylan. Joanne, would you like to share, like, how did the pandemic change you, and how did you cope with it?
Like Dylan, I'm lucky enough where I didn't get affected as heavily as others have. I do, like my sisters are all nurses or they work in the hospital. My mom is a nurse practitioner. She runs a clinic. So it's just constant worrying for them, like just constantly like being afraid if like they're gonna get it, and just and in that kind of way, I do relate to like the character Giselle, because she's always worrying and she's always worrying about the hospitals, the people who are working, the frontliners, and like just, and for me personally, like really relating to Giselle is just the state of limbo that we were in. Like when it first hit, like when the lockdowns hit, we really weren't sure. Like she says in the play, she says, I'm just not sure where this is all leading to. I'm not sure how we're all going to recover from all this. And just that really was how I felt for like months during the lockdown. And what really got me through it was just, I was living in a house with four of my friends. So we were just always like there for each other, just spending time with each other, just connecting. If one of us was feeling like, a little bit caged in, or we were feeling like anxious, we would go for like a very like short, like brief walk, or we'd like open a window or something, but just mental health check-ins all the time. And when one of us was feeling it, everyone else just came together. So it was just, my friends were really, really what got me through. And my mom too, because she would do like drive-bys and she would drop me off food, make sure it's secure. I'd come out and get it. Then she leaves. We like wave at each other through the window. But yeah, really, really like my loved ones are what got me through it. And so, and like now that things are a lot better, like connection is what's really still getting me through it. Like even with music, like performing for In Full Color, like virtually connecting to other people, like over Zoom, talking about the struggles and just being able to express our emotions, like the vulnerability through music, like that connection is what's really, I think, what powers us getting through this.
Right. And it's amazing that you were able to, check in with your friends and to mental health check. And I think that's also one thing that's very important these days is to let each other know that we are here for them whenever they need someone to talk to. Because aside from, I think during the pandemic, aside from the physical health that is being affected by the virus, I think there is also a parallel pandemic that's been going on. And I think that's mental health, where people started to feel depressed and feel anxious about all these things that's happening, and it's really tough to understand all things. And life happens as it does, but sometimes there's always that possibility of like there's always uncertainty, and that's what gives us fear at the moment. But as long as we're here for each other, as long as we let each other know that we care for each other, and I think that we can go through it and we can overcome it. How about you, Summer? Like I know that In Full Colors has also been operating in virtual events for during the pandemic. So how has, despite that, how has the pandemic been a challenge for you as an artist and a director for an organization that has promising projects?
The pandemic, was like, I think emotionally difficult for sure for a lot of people and a lot of our artists, but just virtual and being able to do more things online has been really game changing for us, I guess. We are able now to perform for people around the world, to collaborate with artists who are not local to New York and New Jersey. And we always had artists represented from other parts of the United States or even the world, but they didn't get to perform their own work. They would like send their work and we'd find someone and cast them to perform it. Being able to actually have those artists in the room and have them actually share their stuff and create more paid work for artists has been so gratifying. And like Joanne was saying, just the connection has been incredible. Both Dylan and Joanne have done virtual events with us. And
amazing.
It was just really, really wonderful to share your work with people and get that reception. And in some ways it's cool to have virtual because there's like a chat going and like 50 people can be like, that meant a lot to me because it reminded me of my mom. And, and you get all this like personal stuff that you might not when you're performing just in person to a crowd where you can't hear all their thoughts. They don't have direct access to telling you how they feel. So that's been really, really incredible. And then as an artist, it's just been at the beginning of the pandemic, it was really nice to have the luxury of time. That limbo that Joanne was talking about was like scary, but it was also freeing in a way where you're like, oh, what are like the 15 like artistic things I'd like to do, but never have time to do that always get pushed to the back. And then you get to try some things and that's cool too.
Yeah, and I really commend you for what In Full Colors has done, because you're giving an opportunity for artists who may have not had that opportunity before to like showcase their works. And as you said, you have reached out to artists from not just in the United States but around the world to be able to have their works seen, heard, and celebrated, and it's amazing. Kudos to what you do and for your organization. So my next question, everyone, is we've all known how the pandemic has not only affected the health of people, but also when it comes to like the prejudice of community and groups. And we in the Philippines, there's also a news that came out that during the height of the lockdowns and during the height of the pandemic, there have been several attempts to blame it on Asian Americans in the United States. And I want to know, since you're of Filipino heritage and living within the United States, like, have you all been like at some point been personally affected, or was there a time when you guys were ridiculed or something like that, or have you heard cases where that happened within your community? Let's start with Joanne.
Yeah, so it was pretty real over here for a bit. There were attacks on elderly Asians in the city. Yeah, and my mom, who was commuting to work at the time, I was very scared for her, and I would drive her to work, and because I didn't want her anywhere near the train stations, anything like that, where there were a lot of people. Because there were even some occasions she's told me where people are like staring at her a weird way. Some people like kind of like they would make like little side comments, things like that. Some of my friends actually were outright like they weren't physically harassed, thank God, but there were comments thrown at them like, "Oh, go back to where you came from. Oh, this is your fault. Oh, blah blah blah." Like some kind of derogatory comment. So it was pretty scary for a while. They had to avoid like a lot of public spaces for some, especially in the city. For me personally, like the most I've gotten were just glares, like around the supermarket. Because I lived in at the time when it started, I lived in Fairlawn, which was like a kind of predominantly white neighborhood. So I would go to the supermarket and I could have just been imagining it, but it also could have been, I'd get some stares. I got outright faces like thrown at me, and also just people. I don't know. It could have just been me imagining it, but also like I did not imagine certain faces and certain people just like moving away as soon as they saw me coming, But that's how it affected me personally and my friends. It was kind of a bit troubling.
How are you doing now? Are you still? Do you still have that fear whenever you go out to your to public spaces, or?
Not anymore, because I don't live in Fairlawn anymore. I actually moved back to New Jersey City, where there's heavy Filipino population. So it's
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the most diverse areas in New Jersey. So it's a lot less common here. And if something were to happen, there's a Filipino on the other block that'll come back you up, It's very unlikely for it to happen here.
But it's good that you have that community now to find a refuge whenever people would attack, just in case people would attack. So yeah, it's amazing to have that sense of security and and comfort as well. Next would be Summer. How has was there a time when you were also affected, or have you heard of someone who was?
Well, first of all, I'm not worried about my safety because I have Joanne near me and she knows martial arts. She's going to protect me. She's just going to destroy anyone who tries to come at me. Yeah. But no, I on the real though. Yeah, it's been scary. I think when the pandemic first happened, I remember I was on the bus and no one would sit next to me on the bus. And I was like, oh, they think I'm Chinese and then I have COVID. Okay. And yeah, and that was towards the beginning. There wasn't really anything violent happening yet. But there's like Joanne mentioned, there's been a lot of reports of violence. Even, pretty recently, it's still been happening. And I gotta be honest, I don't feel safe in the city. Once I'm in the city, I'm not necessarily thinking about it. I'm definitely going about my business. I'm still going in a lot to meet people, to see things. but I feel like less safe in New York City. We say the city, the New York City is the city to us, or like Manhattan usually. I feel less safe there than I do in Jersey City, like Joanne mentioned. Like maybe it's just because it's home, but I think it is also, New York is also diverse, but Jersey City and San Francisco are actually, they one up each other every year, being the most diverse city in the United States. But I think we're also a little less segregated in some ways, or like I walk down the street, I see like a lot of different kinds of people in New York. And in New York, there's like this, because there's so many tourists and there's so many people, there's like a safety in numbers, but there's also danger in it because criminals also feel the safety in numbers, and they feel like they can just hit you in the face and run away, and you're surrounded by hundreds of people. Like you're not going to find them, you're not going to chase them, whereas like Jersey City is still like built like a small town in a lot of ways. So it's like, you punch me in the face, there's like 20 people on the street who are like, yo, you just punched her in the face, and like we'll chase you down, you know, like you're not going to get lost in the crowd. It's like, it's not going to happen. So I don't know, it's not something that really weighs on my mind every single day, but it can be scary. There was a woman who was pushed in front of a subway, and that is like my personal fear, getting pushed in front of a subway. So like that like really struck me. I was like, oh my God, like someone could do that. And now when I'm on the subway, I'm like, how do I stand far away platform next to something I could grab onto if someone tries to push me? Scary.
But do you know any resources or like a call for help just in case, you know, those attacks might come? I'm not saying that it will, but you know, we can never be certain these days.
There's a website, I think stopaapihate.org.
Oh, okay.
Or
We'll
something
put
like
that in the description.
Yeah, it allows you to at least report hate crimes and things like that. A lot of these incidents are not being reported as hate crimes, which makes it really difficult to track. So that's probably one good resource. My other good resource is just have Joanne next to you at all times.
By the way, for the information of our viewers, Joanne is not only an artist, but she's also an athlete. Is it Taekwondo, Joanne?
It's Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, yeah. So basically, we're safe here if we have Joanne at our backs. So yeah, let's go with Dylan. But before that, Dylan, I'm just gonna have to, but carry on. I'll just connect my charger with my laptop.
Okay, go for it.
But yeah, carry on.
Yeah, I don't think I have too much to say on the matter actually, because I was lucky. Maybe because of the area we're in and very diverse. I didn't feel like my life changed personally from on the racial side, and maybe my experience is different too because I'm a man, and I know at least a lot of maybe the vast majority of incidents reported in the news were female victims. So yeah, I didn't feel any visceral change in my life. Certainly it worried me, but there was so much to be worried about already that I didn't really quantify it all, you know?
It's amazing how like at least in your community you're assured of safety as well, because when news broke out, I think it was sometime in August 2020 or like within those times when the lockdowns were still rampant. The news reached the Philippines, and we were worried because we have relatives, abroad, especially in the U.S. And I don't think this only happens within the United States. The hate Asian like crimes and also the incidents where they attack not just Filipinos but all other Asian people of color, of Asian descent. And I think that these days it's really important. That's why it's important for us to showcase our stories, because for me, the Midnight Catch Up, it's more of like a reflection of that. It's not just the West that's heavily affected during the pandemic. It's also communities in other parts of the world, in the Philippines. Teenagers, they had to they didn't really go to school because they just had to like go through school through virtual classes, and that kind of like robbed them of the opportunities that we had when we were in high school. The prom, the attending tournaments for sports, those kinds of events we enjoyed back then. And but I believe that there's also a lot of more opportunities, and I hope that there will be more opportunities for them to come. I think that the pandemic has been a phase of trial for many of us, but if we stick together, if we be a force for good, then there's definitely more good things to come. So I for my next question, what do you wish to see more in the arts, in the industry, in the community, and also what it does to people? Let's start with Summer.
I would like to just see more empathy and uplifting of others. See a lot of artists who are really self-centered, and it's like really important to be your own, number one fan and really advocate for yourself. But I see a lot of people doing it with clearly no interest in seeing what other people have to offer, supporting any other people in their work, being inspired by other people. And that makes it just, so much less engaging when you're just there to listen to yourself. It's go to things and like, you're awesome. Talk up your art, show your work, share it with us, share your story. But like, listen to everyone else, support them, hang out,
Right. There's always that support group that encourages us, and it's amazing. How about you, Joanne?
I would like to see just more representation, like just perspectives of all different kinds of artists, because I feel like music and the arts is just, and like that connection and like representing your feelings. I feel like I learn a lot about all different types of people, and I feel like I want to keep learning about all different types of people. So I just want to hear all the perspectives of like everybody.
Right. And it's amazing how a lot of like organizations have started to do that, are starting to do that. And personally, I've just shared the experience that I had with when I was sending my play to Talking It Out festival. At first, I was not really expecting to be accepted because, for one, I'm like, I know that sometimes race plays an issue when it comes to acceptances in other industries, but I think more than that is that I'm located overseas, so I didn't have that any anticipation whatsoever that it might get accepted or it might not. But I just did send it because I was able to see it on an Instagram post. And because I was following a lot of arts organizations, not just in the States, but around the world, because I wanted to like get my work out there. And then to my like unexpected, like it was really unexpected when I received the acceptance letter from them, from Anthony himself. He's the founder of Talking It Out, for like information of our viewers. Anthony J. Pescioni. So he sent me the acceptance letter, the response letter, and I celebrated with my family when I found out. So we ordered food because we couldn't go out at that time because it was still lockdown last year in the Philippines. I think that was in August, and we just ordered like food, like Food Panda, or equivalent of DoorDash here. So yeah, but yeah, I agree with you, Joanne. Representation matters. Like hearing a lot of perspective from different people from around the world matters, because I think that as the world is round, so are the cycle of opportunities that come. opportunities should be distributed equally so that people who have the potential to tell good stories, authentic stories, have the platform to share it to the world for those of us who can celebrate, relate, and admire. How about you, Dylan? What would you like to see in probably specifically in the music industry or like in arts in general?
In arts in general, I think I would just like to see more people honestly sharing their art and really giving it to other people. Kind of piggybacking off what Summer said, I think there is a lot of selfishness in arts community, and not necessarily people who are thinking like, oh, I'm the best, I'm this and that, but I think because of the nature of pursuing art as a professionally, I think there's so much searching for self-validation from other people. Like, please love what I did because I need to prove to myself that it was worth taking this path and not getting another type of job. And that was definitely me for a long time. But I think something that evolved me a lot in my self-reflection was realizing to not to look for self-validation in my art, but to look instead for what my art can do for other people. And I think I realize as I do my best work and I feel the most fulfilled when I see my music affect someone else. And
Right.
so that's been a big focus of mine in the last few years, is just what for my next project is how can this music serve other people? How can I use this as a gift for someone else? Because I think a lot of artists would agree. It doesn't always feel like your art is something that you came up with. It feels like something in the moment that just was granted to you in your mind and you're lucky enough to put down on paper. And it should be shared. Art should be communal. And I would like to see more people honestly sharing their souls with each other.
Right, and that's a great message, Dylan. Art should be communal because I also believe that art should have an impact, a better impact on people's lives, and we can do more when we're together. So it's amazing. Lastly, this will be the last question, and and then we can go for maybe responses to continue the conversation. But I would like to know about your future projects. Let's start with you, Dylan.
Yeah. So if you've seen, I think you've seen when you saw my resume, but I used to perform under the name Hello, I'm Dylan, and I have a lot of music released on Spotify and anywhere else you stream under that name, and I'm very proud of it. But going off what I said, I realized I wanted my music to not be about me anymore. I want it to be about something bigger. So I've put away that name, and I've just been away working on a new project. It's going to be called Modern Crybaby, and it's going to focus on self-development and mental health, and just trying to tell an honest story of our generation of artists. People who feel the burden of the work that their parents went through to allow us to pursue this, but also feel the burden of not knowing exactly what their place is in this society as it is right now, where art is in a limbo of, it's a privilege to pursue it, but at the same time, it's also a higher calling in a sense because of what art can bring to other people. And we're all just trying to figure out how we fit into this whole picture. And so I'm trying to do a project that inspires other people to make their own art instead of hiding it away in their rooms.
That's amazing, Dylan. Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't be surprised if there are people who you would inspire and would someday make music of their own. Also, Dylan, just a follow-up question. I'm curious. When you were growing up and when you were honing your craft in music, was there ever a time when you feel misrepresented in the music industry, knowing that the genre of like rock and basically like emo, punk, and are mostly white people, bands composed of white people like Paramore, I think My Chemical Romance?
Definitely when I was younger, I felt a lot of worry that I wasn't being looked at as a serious artist because of my race. But I think as I grew up, um, I think as I grew up, I started to realize I was placing a lot of that insecurity on myself, and because a lot of the musicians I work with now and I've gotten to meet over the years, like at least the true artists see the artists in other people. That's our primary label, and one thing that helped me get past that and just focus on just being the best person that I could was there's a band called Daphne Loves Derby, and they were very popular in the emo scene. They're one of the first emo bands with an Asian singer songwriter, and so there's a whole generation of like Filipino Americans who were very inspired by that to pursue it. And I was actually very lucky. I got to meet the band virtually online during COVID, and I released a song with them that I'm so proud of. But yeah, I think I placed a lot of the insecurity on myself, saying that I could never get to this certain level because I'm not a handsome white boy. But in the end, all I had to do was self-validate myself and do the best work I could, and I ended up making friends with a lot of these people.
But yeah, you create good music. I mean, I listen to your songs on YouTube, and it's really amazing. I don't think anyone could do that better than you. So yeah, we'll definitely I'll definitely put the links on your music in the description. So yeah, let's move on to Summer. What are your future projects, Summer?
I am definitely continuing to do some stuff with In Full Color, but I'm also focusing a lot on my personal artistry, trying to do more directing and more acting. I also do make music, so I'm like trying to do that more and like perform my stuff more, and I don't know, actually do it. It's more of like, I guess like alt R&B and like Latin R&B and stuff like that. And I don't know, just like rediscovering who I am as an artist now. COVID for me also meant a lot of life changes, major life changes, and I'm just like trying to figure out what my new direction is. But it's sometimes uncertain, but I'm feeling pretty good about it.
But yeah, you've done a lot of really great, remarkable things with, especially with In Full Colors, and we're looking forward to more projects to come, so that more artists can be represented as well. And what you did was really great. So a follow-up question, Summer. Are there ways for people to support the organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the people that support us the most are corporations and colleges and certain like educational government entities like libraries. So they'll have us come in and perform. We'll have a group of about 3 artists sharing different art forms, and then we do a little talk back Q&A where people can learn more about their artistry or about certain social issues that we're passionate about. And I think that's the best way to support us. If you work for an organization that could benefit from a program like that, you can book us and have us come in and like directly interact with you and your organization, your constituents, all the people that you want to empower and educate. But also, if you just want to see us do more cool stuff for artists, you can make, in the United States, a tax-deductible donation. So you can do all of this stuff at infullcolor.org, where you can also learn more about all of our programs and what we're doing. You can come out to a show in person or virtual and support that way as well. Basically, just interact with our art, support our artists.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I'll definitely put the link also of the official website of In Full Colors in the description, so people can have access to ways to support as well as to participate in the events. And for Joanne, what are your future projects for this year or also for the next?
I just want to do a lot more live stuff. I just love like I love working with other artists. I love doing stuff like that. I haven't done like a play like this in a very long time. My last one was probably with Summer in high school. So, but I love it. Like doing this really, it's rekindling that like that fire for me. Like I forget how much I really love just like adding my voice or like trying to represent someone else's, you know. I just love doing like open mics. I love doing like the virtual performances, things like that. I love just jamming with other artists. Like we were really deprived of that during the pandemic. So I feel like I just want to like get back out there and just thrive.
Yeah, and you're definitely thriving. It's good that you were able to also collaborate with like Summer for Info Colors and join events along with Dylan in the previous events that Info Color has conducted. And a follow up question, Joanne. You've done a lot of like you're also multifaceted. You're engaged in art, and at the same time you're also very active in sports. How do you like balance them?
It's less of a balance and more of a like one takes over at a time. So right now, like I've been so usually like before this, it was just always the training, like the martial arts training, like 5-6 days a week. And then when this started, I'm doing more like a little more like art stuff. So maybe it's like, you know, 3 days a week, but you know, but it's I need to balance a little bit better, but it's, you know, I try my best in both of those fields. So,
will there be an upcoming tournament that you're looking forward to with Jiu-Jitsu and yours?
actually, yeah. So there's a couple coming up in like a few months that I'm signed up for. So that's for Jiu-Jitsu. And then in the summer, I'm actually looking to start competing for Muay Thai too. So
That's amazing.
yeah, it's going to be pretty packed this summer. So I'm going to get all my art stuff in now and get my fill, and then.
Well, yeah, that's definite. That's gonna be like we're looking forward to your win for that. So it's like a manifesting right now. So yeah, you can definitely do it, and maybe someday you might like you might play an actor or like a character that is like that does Muay Thai. We I don't think we have, yeah, not just a stunt woman, maybe a main character like something. Yeah, because we don't really see a lot of like this is just based on my personal experience. I'm sure there are a lot of movies that feature Asian American women who are really active and engaged and triumphant in sports. And I believe there are in reality, but we haven't seen mainstream films or not just films, probably like, you know, other mediums, like theater. I don't know how to do or to integrate like sports in theater, but definitely like being portrayed for like an athletic like person of color in a mainstream film, in a mainstream medium. That's something that can be a milestone for many people. So it's good to have that representation soon. So thank you so much, guys, for coming along and for accepting my invitation. I know it's still morning there, and you might have a full day ahead. But thank you so much for sharing your time with me. So once again, folks, I will put all the resources in the description below. Don't forget to like watch or like inquire from us about the Talking It Out Festival this coming March 19th. 2022 Saturday. That's gonna be 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 a.m. Philippine time. So we're 12 hours between us. There's 12 hours between Eastern Standard Time and Philippine time. But yeah, Joanne Villavieja for playing the role of Giselle, Dylan Schroth playing the role of Conrad, and of course, Summer Dawn, the director of The Midnight Catch-Up. So thank you very much, guys, and have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Angelo.
Thank you so much.